Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast. I'm your host and founder, Jen Noseworthy, located in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. Thank you for tuning in to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, uprntalkradio.com, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. Watch and listen to PNL Podcast every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern with a YouTube live chat watch party with me, your host Jen, and a few BOG team members. For tonight's Enchanted Poison Plants episode on UPRN segment number 90, I've got a special guest waiting backstage from Minnesota and a co-host from North Carolina who I'll bring on shortly. Now it's time to grab your favorite spooky summer beverage, a few botanical munchies, and get ready for the show tonight. Paranormal NL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG team. It's a boots-on-the-ground BOG team doing historical paranormal investigations in Newfoundland, Canada. If you find yourself coming back to the show and you like the content, smash that subscribe button. Gratitude, folks. It all helps. Now, you can grab your PNL Podcast and BOG team merch on TeePublic on our Linktree Paranormal NL Podcast. All BOG team music heard in the intro and the exit is available for download and use on all streaming, social media, and music platforms. PNL Podcast believes in supporting international paranormal networking and highlighting global paranormal people, places, and things. Now, I'd like to give a shout out to who introduced me to tonight's guest, and a big shout out to Filthy, aka Klaus, from SOR Spaced Out Radio here in Canada and British Columbia with cryptid cartoons. Now, Filthy was on PNL Podcast Season 4, Episode 16. That's UPRN Seg 76. And he recommended tonight's guest, who I'm going to bring on stage shortly. For now, we're going to bring on our co-host, Mr. Rob Shelsky. Welcome, welcome.
Hi there. It's good to be here again.
Do you want to
introduce... looking forward to tonight's episode. I want to know what an enchanted poison plant is.
Yes, me too. I can't wait to find out about it, Rob. Now, for the folks listening, do you want to introduce yourself again to the folks listening around the world on UPRN?
Sure, if they're not too bored with me already. My name is Rob Shelsky. I'm an author. I've written over 82 books. I have been a MUFON field investigator for UFOs, I've investigated lots of different paranormal things. I have spoken at the Library of Congress, and I've been an on-camera expert for Carcass 7 Studios in Hollywood. That about sums it up.
Well, thanks again, Rob, for being co-host of the show tonight. So without further ado, we're going to bring to the stage our main guest, Miss Varla Ventura. Welcome, Varla.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you for being on the show, both of y'all. Now, Miss Varla, for the folks listening around on UPRN, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm an author. I've only written like 8 books, so Rob has me beat there. My most recent book, I write a lot about folklore, strange history, unusual creatures, things like that. My most recent book, Enchanted Plants, is an exploration of fairy tales and folklore through a botanical lens. And my next book, which is coming out in just a couple of months, is Rotten Botany. And that's an exploration just of like all the weird plants in the world. So I've been working on some plant books of late. And yeah, I call myself a supernaturalist. I've been doing this for a number of years. I can't really think how many, 30 or something. I don't know, since I was pretty young.
I have to ask, what got you into the botany?
So that's something that I just always had an interest in from like a very, very young age, and kind of just grew up in a, we lived in an urban area, and then we moved to the woods, and we had a garden. My mom taught me a lot about like just, basic medicinal herbs. And then as a teenager, I was really obsessed with plants, and I spent a lot of time just training with herbalists and reading a lot of books about plants. And then I started working in nurseries when I was pretty young, plant nurseries. So did that for a while. And then that kind of segued into like a landscaping business. I grew up in California, so I had a business in San Francisco. And kind of simultaneously with that, I was also getting into book publishing and writing and editing. And so to be perfectly honest with you, Enchanted Plants and even Rotten Botany, those are the books that I wanted to write 30 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe. And I love all of the books that I've written, but these two, I don't know if you've had this experience, Rob, but I have this working relationship with the publisher, and I feel like up until Enchanted Plants, it was always kind of more about what they wanted me to write versus what I wanted to write for them. And Enchanted Plants really shifted that for me.
So with Enchanted Plants, I see the quintessential red apple on there from Disney Story.
Poison apple.
Is there an actual poison apple, though? I know a lot of people, when I was a kid, I used to go climb the trees and get the crab apples and stuff,
Well, so it's interesting because apples, actually, the seeds of apples do contain poison.
Cyanide? Is it cyanide?
Yes. Yes.
Cool. I got it.
And basically what happens is you have to have, let me see, I probably...
the people watching eating an apple right now are going to freak out saying,
it's okay.
Oh my God, I swallowed one of the seeds. No, it's okay.
So that's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you the amount that you would have to eat. I probably can do it off the top of my head. So the thing is that what happens is if you chew an apple seed, it breaks down. It has to be very macerated, and it basically breaks down the cyanide that's in there, which combines with the sugars in your stomach to become completely lethal. However, in order for you to actually die of that or have any adverse symptoms, an average, let's just say let's say you're 130 pounds, you would have to eat, I think, the seeds of 60 apples all at once, all macerated, take them into your body immediately. Macerated meaning really pulverized. And then you would then that could be fatal. So that's
so for the folks listening, please don't do that to your husband.
Don't do that to your husband or neighbors. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, how about wives? Why did we leave wives out of this?
Or wives. None of the following recipes throughout the hour are approved by the law.
I have a question. I was told potatoes have enough arsenic in them to kill you, but it's in there in such a way that it doesn't. Is that true?
I have also read that, and I think that's why when potatoes turn, you know how when potatoes turn green, you can get sick from them, and you're told not to.
Right.
It has something to do with when the light, some kind of when the light hits the potato and it starts to turn green, and that might be it. But I don't really know.
Yeah, and they said the eyes were poisonous. The eyes of potato are poisonous.
Sure, you're not supposed to eat them. And actually, so potatoes are in the solanum family, along with tomatoes, but also along with deadly nightshade. And henbane is in that same family. So there's a number of poisonous plants within that family. So it does make sense that anything that grows in that family does have a trace amount of something called tropane alkaloids. And that, I don't know about the arsenic with potatoes, but there's certainly it's in the genetic makeup of everything in that family to have a certain amount of toxins. Whether or not it's enough to actually harm you is, it depends on the plant.
Opposite realm, I was going to mention, Varla, potatoes and Rob are sometimes used in magic. For good things. For example, if you want to, let's say you touch a frog and you get a wart on your hand or something, you cut the potato and you rub it on whatever, and then you go plant the potato outside somewhere. Don't let the person know where it's at, and it's supposed to be gone the next day. And, that's an old, I guess, thing that they use here in Newfoundland, and it actually works,
I have a question.
It's the poison in it.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say maybe the poison in it actually does something to the to your skin too.
Yeah, because there's so many different things when you're talking with white or black witches where they use all kinds of different plants and things like that.
Yeah, like an apple is a really effective for a love spell. Because if you cut the apple in half, this way, horizontally, it reveals that star in the middle where the seeds are. And that's sacred to Aphrodite. And so you can actually you can do this with potato, all kinds of vegetables, but you can use them as a candle holder. You can carve it out and put whatever color candle, and if you were doing a love spell, probably red or pink. But you can do that, and it actually kind of creates a safe vessel for you to have this drippy candle and not worry about it causing, a house fire or whatever.
Now, Rob, you had a question about something.
Yeah, being a writer, I also write cozy murder mysteries.
Oh, that's lovely.
And there was an episode, Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot, where they were discussing the perfect poison that was odorless, colorless, and left no lasting mark on the body, within minutes after dying. Is there a poison like that? Because if there is, I'd like to use it in a story.
I believe it's strychnine.
Doesn't strychnine cause shakes and convulsions?
Oh, well, yes, but presumably there'd be no witnesses to that part. I think so it's either arsenic or strychnine that you can't taste. One of them has bitterness in it. And I think it's
strychnine. I think it's strychnine.
Okay.
Now, there's other kinds of medications you can use as a nurse, but I'm not going to say what ones because we don't want people going around doing stuff to other people.
No, but there's a book that I can recommend. I used it for research and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and it's called The League of Lady Poisoners. And it's a beautifully designed book, similar to my book has these gilded edges. It's got green gilded edges. It's a hardcover. Okay. And the woman who wrote it also illustrated it. But she goes through all of these different women over time. And there's a whole story in there about this woman who I guess used arsenic. It must have been arsenic. Yeah, it was arsenic because
that's what they used back in the Victorian era.
Yes, this was during the Victorian era. And she
put it in
chocolates. Right? She put it in chocolates.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And then, it's just it's a terrible story. I mean, she poisoned all kinds of people, a bunch of children, tried to blame the chocolatier. And she was obsessed with this doctor. And then so she sent these chocolates to his wife and tried to get her to eat them. But the wife was like, this lady's kind of off her rocker. And it was like this 5 or 6 year ruse where she had tried to go into a lawsuit or tried to convince people to sue the chocolatier just to deflect. Meanwhile, she kept going. She would disguise herself with a heavy veil, and she would go 3 towns over and order strychnine to poison the rats in her cornfields.
Oh my gosh.
And, it was not like people communicate. It was like, oh yeah, this suspicious lady kept coming in. I mean, it would take a while for information like that to get around.
But now some of the stuff is good. I found this one, like lamb's ear.
Oh yeah.
They were used on the battlefield for bandages for soldiers.
Yes.
I have that in my yard.
A lot of stuff too.
Yeah. Lamb's ear is very absorbent and can kind of staunch bleeding. And it's not in the same family, but something that grows native all over North America is, I think it's introduced actually as mullein, very similar. Gets those thick, fleshy, soft leaves, and those can be used to stop bleeding, to treat wounds. It also has, it's good for coughs and
when you think about it, most of the stuff that's in your medications are medicinal plants and things like that.
The most poisonous plants are the ones that have the most medicine in them. And there's no better example of that than foxglove, digitalis. Mm-hmm. There's no better example because that is a common plant. It is seen in every cottage garden.
Dogs get into it a lot, though, don't they? In the wild, when you let your dog out, you got to be careful they don't get into that.
I mean, my dogs don't get into the foxglove, but I'm sure some do. Especially puppies that like to chew on everything. And all parts of that plant are poisonous. Now, dogs that might be a little bit more resistant to some of the poisons. Because, they have a lot of crazy stomach enzymes that we don't have that prevent them from, it's why they can eat weird random things, but they should eat foxglove. But
there's so many pretty plants that you wouldn't think would harm your animals. I've got an amaryllis that is so easy to take care of.
Toxic for dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. And cats too. So I got to keep it up really high so they don't get into it or something. Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And people don't even realize, you mentioned chocolate. That's bad for them too, right?
Chocolate's bad for dogs.
And raisins.
Grapes, I think. Yeah, raisins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it bad for people?
No.
Chocolate?
Good for people. Chocolate's really good for people.
It's good for me.
It's good for me too. But with foxglove, you have foxglove contains something called digitoxin, and that is an active alkaloid in there that is used to create digoxin, which is a heart treatment.
Heart, yes.
And it's still used today and is used very widely. And, I think at this point, it's probably it's been synthesized now that, the compounds have been isolated. But actually during World War II, the British government formed something called the British Vegetable Drugs Committee. And because all of the digitalis or all of the digoxin that was being produced at the time throughout Europe, it was being produced in Germany. And so and of course, you're in England, you're not going to get that. So in order to prevent a massive shortage of this medicine that you take that stops you from having a heart attack, they enlisted all the women and children and elderly who weren't everyone who wasn't fighting at war or working, they enlisted them to grow and harvest foxglove. Wow. And they were able to harvest enough that it prevented a drug shortage throughout the war, which is pretty remarkable. And I just love the idea of women and children gathering
stuff, right?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Now I noticed on your Rotten Botany book, you've got it looks like a meat eater plant. Now in Newfoundland and Labrador, we've got a pitcher plant that eats things like, insects and meat and stuff like that. Do you have one of those in your garden?
Oh yeah. So the book has an entire chapter dedicated to carnivorous plants, including several kinds of pitcher plants. There's a sort of a South American pitcher plant that's the kind that you see that kind of hangs more. Okay. And then there's the North American pitcher plant, which is a Saracena. And those are the ones that like are tubular and almost cobra-like. And I suspect
they're the kind that we've got in Newfoundland. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our main flower. Yeah.
Guess where the Venus flytrap comes from?
The Venus flytrap's from the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's native. Yeah. It's native there.
It just makes me think about the movie. What movie was it in?
Oh, Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. I was thinking of Day of the Triffids. That was a scary movie with a plant.
Oh,
you ever saw it?
I don't know that one.
You never saw Day of the Triffids?
Oh,
it's a cult classic.
Now I'm going to have to
it's
watch
still
that.
Scary. Yeah. It's still scary to me. Now, you're talking about poisonous plants, but how is it that they're enchanted? I'd like to know about that part of it.
So what I did with this book is I'm a plant nerd and I love all books about plants and I love books about plant magic and I love books about plant medicine, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit different. And so one day I was reading a Grimm's fairy tale and I took out a little pad of Post-its and I started marking up where certain plants were being mentioned again and again. And right away, there was a list that started, obvious things, apples, roses, these things appear again and again. And if you get into Greek mythology, you've basically got them all, you've got Narcissus and Iris and all of that. But what I wanted to do was find plants that, of course, had a lot of lore and that I could explore the magic and medicine of, but I wanted them to be almost like main characters. So in the story, if you were to change the plant, you would change the principle of the story. And once I set that criteria down, that is what helped me identify what I considered to be an enchanted plant, that it was something that repeatedly appeared in stories and would cause some kind of effect on the people around them. Cabbages, surprising number of
make you very musical.
Fairy tale, yeah.
They make people run away from you.
Enchanted in a whole other way. The enchanted cabbages that you eat and it turns you into a donkey, and then you eat a little bit more and it turns you back into a man. And cabbages.
What if you started out as a girl? Wouldn't that be a little awkward?
Well, if you're walking along the road and you see a cabbage growing in a field that very obviously looks like it belongs to a witch, I don't know a woman that would just steal one.
Right.
That's why it's usually men. Okay.
Yeah. Guilty. I've stolen a pumpkin once. So.
Okay, and pumpkins, that's another example of an enchanted plant. It's got so many different stories associated with it.
How about a turnip?
Turnips, I've got an entire chapter on turnips. Yep. Enchanted turnips.
They were the original
jack-o'-lantern.
You mentioned yes, jack-o'-lantern, because they're actually look scary.
Oh yeah, they were the original jack-o'-lanterns.
And let me ask you, what do you call turnips in Newfoundland? Like, what does a turnip look like?
We don't call it a rutabaga, we call it a turnip, and it's huge. It's as big as your head.
And is it white and purple or is it yellow?
White and purple.
Okay.
Now, the ones in the U.S. I found are small, very small.
Rutabagas are small.
Yes.
I don't know why I don't know. So that's a whole big controversy because there's also this, like they call them neeps in Scotland.
Okay.
But they say the things that we here in the U.S. call turnips are not worth, or rutabagas or whatever, are not worth anything and shouldn't even be fed to pigs. And so what people, but you're right, because you have like the real ones are
I couldn't find them
large.
anywhere in the US.
And that's why they were actually like, people can't conceptualize that, because here in the US we're used to turnips being tiny.
Well, our turnips are so big. You cut them up, you boil them, and you mash them up with butter, and usually throw a bit of pepper or something into them.
But you could also carve them. Yes, big enough to carve.
Yeah.
They have big turnips at Walmart. There's a white and purple kind of turnip.
But there you go.
My mother used to boil the turnips and mash them up, and boil carrots and mash them up and mix it because for Thanksgiving, because it took a little sweet out of the carrot and made the rutabaga not quite so bitter.
Now, I haven't tried that before.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty good actually.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. But I was wondering, I mean, are you by any chance a Wiccan, a witch or something like that?
I'm not a Wiccan. I do identify as a witch. My mom is a witch, and I do a lot of witchy stuff. So a lot of
women do.
I don't have any. I don't. I don't deny it, but I don't have any formal. Some people are part of. There's so many different traditions.
Well, I was going to put enchanted, plant magic up there, but I wasn't quite sure if you were or not. So I could have added that.
I mean, I'm flexible. But every plant has magic and medicine. I do it's not really like full of spells, but I do offer reasons that you might use it, or what the plant is good for magically. And that comes from obviously research, but mostly my own experience working with these plants.
Do you have a favorite that you like to work with?
A favorite plant?
Yeah, whether it be mushroom or plant or...
Yeah, there's actually no mushrooms in this book. There are mushrooms in Rotten Botany. There's an entire section of incredible fetid, phallic things that are in the mushroom category. Like, incredible. Okay. But a favorite plant, well, one of my favorite plants is foxglove. That is absolutely very, very high up there for me in terms of a very, very enchanted and magical plant. I do have a small poison garden in which I grow wolfsbane, some nightshade, and what's growing in there now? Well, foxglove. And I sort of add plants to it here and there. Like I have a bunch of datura that's sprouting in water right now.
Angel's trumpet.
Mm-hmm. Angel's trumpet is actually sort of. So if you're older than 50, which I am, then you will call Angel's trumpet datura. But in the 70s, unknown to those of us, what is actually Angel's trumpet is, or what was more commonly called Angel's trumpet, is now a brugmansia, and they are related. But the way that you can tell the difference is datura flowers grow up, like they're like little trumpets that grow up, and brugmansias dangle down. Brugmansias are kind of more from Central and South America, and datura is from North America and Europe. But they still have a lot of the same psychotropic properties and things like that.
Are they also both poisonous?
Yes.
Because I heard you're not supposed to have... I had Angel's trumpet here over by my shed, and I got rid of it because they said it's poisonous to animals and people, and
it is.
I got rid of it.
You see, that's why I kept mine.
There you go.
Don't invite me to dinner, okay?
Most people
I'm a terrible cook. Don't worry. We'll eat out.
I can see why.
Oh my gosh.
We'll eat out. It'll be fine. We'll just take away.
She serves dinner at 7 and ptomaine at 8,
A lot of people think about poison ivy and stuff like that when they go out camping and stuff, but they don't think about other things like what you're mentioning.
Well,
I think about mushrooms.
Mushrooms, I think we are trained to be more cautious with mushrooms than probably any other thing in the greater plant or kingdom of fungi. Like that's in the sort of botanical realm or the natural realm. Mushrooms always come with quite a bit of cautionary tales, and there are.
What about oleander? I mean, that's pretty
Oleander's
poisonous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Is
quite
it an
poisonous.
enchanted plant, or is it just a common
All
poisonous plant?
plants are enchanted plants. That's the thing. All plants are enchanted plants. Every plant has a story behind it.
How about
does that make them enchanted because they have a story behind them, or?
Well, it's whether how it got its name, or whether it has to do with its magical properties or its medicinal properties. But because all plants do have power in them, it does make them enchanted. Now, I think poisonous plants tend to be more kind of a higher concentration of what I would call enchanting, because they are dangerous. And we like to think enchanting is just, something really pretty, but real enchantment, such as enchantment in the fairy realm, which I know you both know, is quite dangerous and should be received with caution.
Yeah, you got to watch out.
I've heard that fairies can be quite horrible, quite mean. Is that true?
Yes. There's a lot of fairies that will do not necessarily have your best interest at heart, especially if they don't really like you.
Now, you've got some other books besides your Enchanted botany books. There's one here that kind of looks like a scary fairy up there.
That's the Book of the Bizarre, and the follow-up to that was Beyond Bizarre, and that's a collection of all kinds of just like freaky facts. It's like everything from superstitions to strange laws to there's some paranormal stories in there, all kind of like sort of a menagerie. And then in Beyond Bizarre, I think I have a whole section on plants actually in that book, so I snuck that in. Sort of a book of like bizarre trivia, which I'm one of those people that grew up, reading all those kind of Ripley's Believe It or Not. And
I see some other ones like there too. Unicornucopia. That one yours?
Right. Title. Okay. So there's a whole series of books that's, if you see them, they have this magical creatures tag there. And what these are is a series of real cheap ebooks that I did for the publisher, where I was tasked to find some obscure stories and put them in some modern context, and then write an introduction or find someone who was an expert in the field to write an introduction. And so those ones are mostly all ebooks, but both there was a magical creature series and there's a paranormal parlor series, and the magical creature series ended up becoming some of the base research that I used for Among the Mermaids and for Banshees, Werewolves, and Vampires. And then the Paranormal Parlor series segued to be this Paranormal Parlor book. So it kind of gave me a blueprint of things that I wanted to cover in that. And we just sort of turned them into books.
Are there any... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I bet there's a lot of interesting stuff in your Paranormal Parlor book.
I love that book. I had a lot of fun with that book. It's got a lot about the history of the paranormal and spiritualist movement, a whole chapter dedicated to sort of the kind of the players behind it, and a particular chapter dedicated to the women of the paranormal. Who were found a lot of agency through the paranormal arts during a time when they weren't really even allowed to show an ankle. So that's always really, so that was a lot of fun. I've got, your classic haunted cemetery lists, haunted houses, stories that people shared with me, my own personal experiences in there. And it's kind of one of those books that's designed like you could read it cover to cover, but with most of my books, you can read them out of order. Like it's usually like a small section about one thing. And the Enchanted Plants is very much like that. You can read it from beginning to end, and I organized it in a very specific way, but you also could just look up one of the plants.
Right, yeah. So you mentioned fairies earlier. What's a puka?
Yeah. Oh, a puka is a trickster shapeshifter, frequently seen as a very large rabbit or a horse with like glowing red eyes.
Really?
And it kind of exists. Sometimes you'll see stories of pukas that are like eagles or other animals, but mostly it's a horse or a rabbit. And they kind of like, they're not inherently bad or evil or anything, but they do exist to sort of like mess with you and make you reevaluate your life and your life's path. So for example, if you're wandering along a cliff and you encounter a puka and you have, you shouldn't have been out as late as you were, and the puka will like throw you on its back and take you for this wild ride. And by the end of that, you think you're about to die. And then you are dropped off alongside the road again. And you realize, maybe I need to be a little bit more careful. They frequently prey on town drunks or unreliable narrators.
Did you ever see the movie? I think it's Fool's Parade with James Stewart. It's about a puka. Harvey, that's it. That's it.
Yes,
Harvey,
that's a great example. He keeps talking to and seeing this giant white rabbit. He's a town drunk, Elwood P. Dowd. He's always embarrassing his sister. I love that movie. I love that movie. Yeah.
Well, they're Welsh, right? Pukas are Welsh, aren't they?
They're Irish, but also that word puka, sometimes spelled P-U-K-A, is used or sometimes P-U-K-K-A is used throughout Scotland, Wales, England, and Ireland, and even in like Brittany and some other parts of like what we're.
I have to ask some of the more locals about the pukas. Now, the changelings, are they to you more like Wendigo or Skinwalker or?
No, a changeling is a fairy switch. A changeling is a fairy child left in place of a human child.
Oh, and yes, we've
human child spirited away to the fairy realm, and the fairy child is left on the day side, on the human side.
Okay.
Now we do know today, and this is very important, and you encounter this a lot when you read old folklore. We know today that there are many things that were identified that today would be identified as like a birth defect or some kind of other maybe developmental anomaly. Back then, we were talking like 15, 16, 17, even in the 1800s, and even in the early 20th century, there wasn't a lot known about, like, medicine wasn't dedicated to studying the anomalies. It was dedicated to studying like how do we save lives. And so it really isn't until recently that we've come to understand a lot of things like neurodivergence and Down syndrome and things like that. So it's always really important to kind of know that when you're reading things in the folkloric record, descriptions of people or people or creatures or changelings. But one of the telltale marks of a changeling is that it grows faster than an average human. So a 4-year-old changeling is significantly bigger than an average 4-year-old. In addition, they usually have some kind of otherworldly gift. Usually it's song, but it could be another artistic ability because they are of the fairy realm. And there's all these like crazy ways to like prevent changelings. Like, so iron is supposed to keep fairies away. And one of the things that when the old wives' tales is that when a woman was in labor, you had to not only shut all the doors and windows and lock everything, but also every lock and any cupboards and any like drawer in a dresser, those all had to be locked. Ideally, you had like an iron lock on your door, which was common because that was one of the things. But if you think about it, okay, you're keeping fairies away, but you're also creating sort of like a sanitary, hermetically sealed environment, which is important for labor. Yes, right. So it's always interesting to see I'm not a person that says it's one thing or the other. I think it's all the same thing. It's just a different way of describing it. So I feel like, the science and the magic repeatedly
come together.
Yeah,
definitely.
They really do.
Now, about ghosts and stuff like that, are there plants that tend to be associated with ghosts in particular, like the spooky kind of stuff? I mean,
Well, okay. So the short answer. So there are a couple of plants that are identified at, like, there's like the ghost orchid, the ghost pipe. So they're plants that don't photosynthesize, and they actually are like pale and translucent. So therefore they're given the name ghost. Now, as far as plants, I mean, there are tons of plants that are associated with the dead and associated with connecting with the other side. A surprising example is actually hazel. In the original story of Cinderella, it is not a pumpkin. There's no pumpkin involved in that, because this original story predates like Columbus and colonialism. Pumpkins are indigenous to North America. They were introduced to Europe probably in like the late 1400s, early 1500s. So really not until the 16th century. Around that time, there's a French writer named Charles Perrault who rewrote Cinderella, which was originally called Aschenputtel, and it was an old German story that went back centuries. And so he hit my plant. And so he he redid this. So you can imagine you're this like this cultivated European garden, and then the pumpkin shows up. The most beautiful, I mean, it just looks enchanted. It's just got this incredible luminous quality to it. And they did so beautifully throughout France, all around the Mediterranean. They just did beautifully. So he took this, what was a new plant to society, and he worked it into this classic tale, and he did sort of like the French version. But prior to that, it was actually the plant at the center of Cinderella is a hazel tree. And what happens is her father's coming back from market, and the stepsisters are saying, "Oh, bring us jewels and velvet and gold," and she's like, "Oh, just bring me a branch from a tree that knocks your hat off when you're almost home." That's just what she says. And so he comes home with all of these gifts laden for the two sisters, and to Aschenputtel, to Cinderella, he bestows this branch. Well, it's a hazel branch, and she quickly runs out to the garden and plants it onto her mother's grave, where it grows at a very rapid rate. And it is this tree, which is enchanted and has talking birds in it. This is the tree that drops down a gown for her for each of the 3 nights of the ball, and shoes. And when she comes back from, escaping the ball, so no one knows that she's gone, she lays them out. She lays the clothes out, and the birds and the trees take and disguise the costume again and drop down her rags. And they do that 3 nights in a row. And when the prince comes looking for the person whose shoe he's trying to find, it's very gruesome, but basically one sister can't get it on her foot, and so the mother says, "Just cut your toe off."
What? Ooh.
So she does.
Oh.
She does it. And then she puts the shoe on, and it fits because her toe fit in there. And so as they go to ride out in the carriage together, as they pass under this enchanted hazel tree, the birds shout, "There's blood in the shoe, there's blood in the shoe, your true bride still waits for you." And the prince can understand what they're saying. He seems to be the only one besides Cinderella who can actually understand the language of the birds. So he goes back, and then the other sister tries it on, but she can't get her heel in. And so the mother advises that she chop her heel off in order to fit into the shoe. And so she does. And the same thing happens. They pass under the hazel tree, and the birds say, "There's blood in the shoe. There's blood in the shoe. Your true bride still waits for you." So finally they go back, and it's this story that where it's like, oh, well, there's just Cinderella, but she didn't go to the ball. She tries the shoe on. Hopefully they've rinsed it out. At this point. There's like a little wipe down. this
The shoe is red by now, right?
Yeah, it's like very red.
Can you imagine if it was a glass slipper, what that would look like with a bloody stump in it? Or oh my gosh!
And so when she puts it on and they pass under the tree, the birds say, "Your true pride, there's no blood in the shoe. There's no blood in the shoe. Your true pride sits beside you." And actually, there's one more really gruesome detail. That at the very end, the sisters, she gets married and she's coming out of the church, and her sisters come up to her and they link their arms around her and they're like, "Oh, hooray, we're all going to live in the palace." And at that moment, birds swoop down and pluck out the eyes of the sisters.
Oh, God.
So she's got
like
the birds on
fairy
her
tale.
side. Yeah, it's really good. But so that's a great example of, a plant that then it was like, well, this is obviously associated with the dead. And in fact, it is. And it's sort of considered a conduit into the other world. And so there's no better example than her putting this down onto her mother's grave and basically having this enchantment from the other side really like protect her and look out for her whole life.
Wow. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, your book about Mark Twain looks interesting too.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
gonna bring that up here. You got some Ouija action on the go here.
Oh, yes. Okay. So in Paranormal Parlor, I learned about when I was researching that book, which was years ago, I learned about this woman named Emily Grant Hutchings. And she haunted me ever since because what I knew about her, I put in the book. And, but as time went on, I was always there were things that I didn't seem to quite make sense to me. Like what happened to her during this like 60-year period when there's like seemingly no record of her. But this is Jeff Belanger. I don't know if you are familiar with his work. He is a wonderful author. He's written dozens of books on the paranormal and ghost hunting and creatures. He's got a great book called The Fright Before Christmas that's all about like frightening holiday creatures from around the world. Anyway, he launched this thing called Shadow Zine, and he asked me if I would write one, and I said yes if I can write this, because I have been obsessing over this woman's story for probably 10 years. And I have all of these things that I've been gathering. But the short version is that there was a woman named Emily Grant Hutchings who attended a series of seances in about 1915, during which, through a medium, the spirit of Mark Twain was said to have made contact. And after a couple of sessions, he began asking for her. And a couple sessions after that, she, a medium, and usually there'd be a third person there to act as like basically just as a secretary to like write things down. They began to transcribe. First, they transcribed 2 short stories and edited them all via the Ouija board. Once that worked out, they started on this novel, which the ghost of Twain was, purported to be communicating to him that that's what he wanted to do. And they spent about a year doing sessions. They took the Ouija board and turned it basically into like, I call it like a psychic typewriter. So they took and painted with India ink on the board, parentheses, semicolons, exclamation points, a couple of contractions. So instead of having to spell out that was a parenthetical statement, he could simply guide the planchet to the to one parentheses mark. So this is just fascinating, right? That whether you believe that this is the ghost of Twain or not, the what is happening, these parlor sessions where an entire novel is being dictated. The novel is called Jap Heron, and it's called, the main character is a boy named Jasper, whose nickname is Jap. And he's sort of like a young apprentice at a newspaper, which is totally like Twain, it's Twain's background. And the story, I'm not a Twain scholar. I have read enough Twain to know that his voice is you could mimic it without, it's very distinct. And anytime you have a very distinct voice, it's not that hard to.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that they actually use the Ouija board, because a lot of people say don't be at the Ouija board, and there must be something to it. If so many people say don't be at it, it obviously works for a lot of people.
My experience with it was bad. I didn't like it.
It was
I threw it away. I bought it, tried it that same day, and threw it in the trash that same day.
I was just going to ask you, would you ever try that, Rob? To ask it?
I tried it once, and it kept saying die, die, die. So I thought, well, you're going in the trash.
That's not the message I need to see.
You said goodbye first before you threw it in the garbage.
Yeah.
But with the Mark Twain book, I mean, could it be someone just trying to ride on Mark Twain's coattails by saying it's Mark Twain?
Okay, so this is all part of the story. So for me, it's not just about the story that was written. It's also about the story of how the story was written, who was involved in it. She was called many things. She was accused of doing it just for publicity. She was accused of trying to ride the coattails of Twain's success. She was not the only person, by the way, who's claimed and published work trying to say it's through Twain's ghost. However, she was the only one who was sued for it. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Did it?
Harper and Brothers took her publisher to court. And his name was David Ketterly, and he was a publisher from New York who did a lot of esoteric stuff. And there's some really kind of funny things out there about him. But basically, they were ordered to destroy this book, and he was like, oh, okay. But we know he didn't, because there's copies out there. They're rare, but there's copies out there. But there were a bunch of people that turned on her. So everybody was all on board when it was getting publicity. And as soon as it started getting negative publicity, even some of her friends turned on her publicly and ridiculed her. And then she kind of disappeared from society for years. So it's very interesting. I also talk about like I was talking about before, that the agency, she was friends with Patience Worth, if you know that name at all. It's a woman named Pearl Coran who became famous for channeling. She did channeled works. She met Patience Worth, the entity, through a Ouija session, but they then went on to do channeled sessions. And she wrote volumes of poetry and won all of these awards as a novelist, but under the guise that she was channeling this 16th century pirate lady or something. So there were a couple of times in America, I would say in US history, it was definitely happening in Canada. It was happening in Australia, and it was happening in the UK and parts of Europe. But it was the New York area was the hotbed for spiritualism. And there was a huge spike in interest in it during the Civil War in the United States. And then there was a second spike in interest kind of around the time World War I had kicked off, even though the US wasn't involved in it yet, but it was another time. It kind of makes sense, because you have a group of people who, you have a nation in mourning. You are talking about things that are outside of your control. You aren't able to make contact with loved ones. And so an interest in the other side kind of really spikes in society, combined with the fact that there were all kinds of crazy innovations happening at the time. Yeah. All of a sudden you could turn this box on in your house and voices would come out.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff.
Electricity.
Mm-hmm. Right?
We take that stuff for granted, but it was can you imagine living your whole life with kerosene and candlelight?
And then
being able to touch a button and
I don't think I'd like it too much. But
Rob, do you want to give a shout out, since we're getting close to the top of the hour here, of your Moonflower?
Yeah, sure. Just go to Amazon if you want any of my books, or you can go to Permuted Press, or you can go to Simon & Schuster, and they have several of my books as well. And that's about it.
This is your new one, right? What is that?
Song of the Moonflower.
Is that UFOs in the background? Is it?
Yeah, it's a space opera. It's based about a young woman who's suddenly catapulted to be head of her house, and she has conflicts with her mother, who was the head of the house, other royal houses, and it's basically a space opera. Oh, and AI helps me write it.
No.
So it's
Are you
fiction.
sure it wasn't your planchette in the closet that helped you?
No, that's in the
Is
trash.
that the modern equivalent? Is that the modern equivalent? Right? Is AI the
Right.
modern equivalent of channeling? I don't know.
I was just going to say, right?
I'm getting very technologically oriented. I find it much easier to have it outline things for me. I give it all the information and it outlines it. So it works pretty well. But yeah, Amazon is the place to find me.
I'm going down kicking and screaming against the robots myself. I'm going back to candlelight, but
Oh, I've sold my soul. If Alexa ever conquers the world AI, I already asked if I could be one of her first lieutenants, and that I would obey everything if she would just let me live.
everybody flee to Rob's when it goes down.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm going to put up on the screen here. Let's see. I think I've got your website here, Varla. Oh, there it is. Let's see. Books by Varla Ventura.
Yeah.
So when you
Oh, yeah.
Google yourself, there's a lot of books that come up.
Yes.
Now, on the website, there's not half as many as if I were to just go ahead and Google
It's
your
because
name.
all of those books like that Unicornucopia and like those are all just ebooks. So there's they're not like full length books. They're like $1 ebooks that you can get on.
Oh, they're
Kindle.
chat books.
Yeah. And they're not even in print.
Oh.
So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
but
I was thinking, wow,
like
this woman's busy, right?
Well, and I did those all years ago. But I do want to point out that if anybody wants to, like if you go, you don't need to do it right now. But if you do go to my website and you go to the appearances tab, I do travel a fair amount, doing presentations that have to do with enchanted plants. Yeah, don't look at it right now. It's not up to date. And also it's going to reveal timestamps that we don't want on there.
Okay.
So, but I have Rotten Botany is coming out in the fall. I've got a fall book tour planned in Massachusetts. I'll probably be doing one on the West Coast, of course, here in the Midwest where I am. So that's a good way to just, if you want to come out and meet me and see me in person, just check that out because I actually
One last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, your name, Varla Ventura, is that like an author's name? Or is that your real name? Because it's so pretty.
Pen
I
name.
could tell you, but I would have to kill you.
Oh, well, poison me, right?
Now, if you want to find
that woman in
Varla,
Australia did? She made beef Wellington with poison mushrooms. And
Oh, yeah, in Australia. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
so
yeah.
you're on Instagram, correct?
Instagram is like where I go the most. You can find me on Instagram. And then I am also on Facebook. And then like, if I'm on any other social media, I do nothing with it. So
Okay. Yeah. On the ticker down here on the bottom, you'll see Varla's website, so you can follow her there. And do you want to give a shout out to some of your followers or where else you can find your books?
Well, obviously, we must thank Filthy Filth for the introduction. He's one of my favorite artists.
Shout out to Filth from
Absolutely
SOR,
adore him.
Based
from
Out Radio.
SOR and just Filthy Enterprises. He's got some books out himself. He's a wonderful artist and just all around great person. I've actually gotten to hang out with him in real life, which is always such a treat these days. We make all these connections online, and
I love his artwork. I had him.
Oh my
on
God,
my
I
show
do too.
For my birthday, and he was kind of drawn while we were talking, and we had cats on the show, so we kind of had a cat party for my birthday.
Yes. He's got like Gremlin and. Yes, he did one.
There's a lot of cats.
He did a drawing because we met in Vegas a couple years ago, and he did a drawing for me, and it's It's him and me and an alien in a casino in Vegas. It's great. That's my favorite.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
Yeah, you find me where all my books are available wherever books are sold. If you go into a bookstore and they don't have it, everything's in print, and they will be happy to order it. And Rotten Botany comes out in October, but it is available for pre-order. So you also find that wherever books are sold.
Everybody go out and buy Varla's and Rob's books. And thanks again for being on the show tonight. I really enjoyed having you both on. And we're going to leave you more bog tea music. And let's see, how about some metal? Or unless you want something different, we've got rock, folk, dance.
Did you say metal?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go metal.
Still metal.
There you go.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. There we go. Thanks so much for being on, guys.
Oh my God.
Always
Thank
fun.
you. That was fun.
Yeah.
Flew by, huh?
Good guess.
Yeah.
And co-host.
Yeah. Okay. Should I